How much tribute did the Eastern Romans pay to the Huns? The payment of Roman tribute to the Huns represents one of the most significant financial arrangements in late antiquity, highlighting the complex power dynamics between the Eastern Roman Empire and its nomadic neighbors. During the 5th century CE, the Eastern Roman Empire made substantial payments to the Hunnic Empire, which had a major impact on both empires' political and economic relationships. The total amount of tribute paid by the Eastern Romans to the Huns varied significantly over different periods and under different rulers. This analysis examines the financial dealings from the early Hun-Roman contacts through the reigns of Rugila and the joint kingship of Attila and Bleda. It explores how these payments affected the Byzantine treasury and shaped the broader diplomatic relations between these two powerful empires. Early Hun-Roman relations. First encounters with Uldan. The Romans first became aware of the Huns in 376 when their invasion of the Pontic steppes forced thousands of Goths to seek refuge in the Roman Empire. The Huns launched their first major attack on the Eastern Roman Empire in 395, crossing the Caucasus Mountains and pillaging through Armenia, Persia, and Roman provinces in Asia. During this period, Uldan emerged as the first named Hun leader in contemporary sources, establishing his authority in Muntenia, modern Romania, by 400. Initial tribute agreements. Under Uldan's leadership, the relationship between the Huns and Romans was initially cooperative. In 400, he demonstrated his allegiance by defeating and killing Gainas, a rebellious former Roman commander, and sending his head to Constantinople. The Romans began using Hunnic forces as mercenaries, with Uldan providing crucial military support. In 406, he helped the Western Romans by destroying a Gothic army in Tuscany, and later sent 1,000 Huns to assist the Eastern Roman Empire against other Gothic threats. Diplomatic tensions. The cooperative relationship deteriorated in 408 when Uldan switched allegiances and invaded Roman territory. He captured the important fortress of Castra Martis in Moesia and demanded an extremely high Roman tribute from the Romans. The Romans responded by bribing many of Uldan's commanders, leading to widespread defections that forced him to retreat across the Danube. This period marked a shift in Hun-Roman relations, leading to more aggressive Hun raids into Roman territory. By 422, under the leadership of Ruga, the Huns had become powerful enough to threaten Constantinople itself, compelling the Eastern Roman Empire to establish a formal annual tribute system. The relationship remained complex, with the Huns serving as both threats and allies. In 424, they assisted the Romans in North Africa, showing their value as military allies. However, this arrangement was unstable, as demonstrated in 427 when the Romans broke their alliance and invaded Pannonia, temporarily reclaiming some territory. During this period, Ruga and his brother Octor emerged as joint supreme rulers, with Ruga controlling the lands east of the Carpathians while Octor managed the territories to the north and west. The era of Rugila. Treaty of 422. The reign of Rugila marked a significant shift in Hun-Roman relations, particularly in terms of Roman tribute payments. In 422, the Huns launched a major incursion into Thracia, threatening even Constantinople itself. This aggressive move compelled the Eastern Roman Empire to negotiate a peace treaty with the Huns. The agreement resulted in the establishment of an annual tribute system, with the Romans agreeing to pay 350 pounds of gold each year to maintain peace. This treaty represented a turning point in the power dynamics between the two empires. The Eastern Romans, facing military weakness and the need for strategic diplomacy, chose to appease the Huns through financial means rather than risk open conflict. This decision was likely influenced by the immediate threat posed by the Huns and the empire's limited resources to effectively counter their military might. Annual payments. The annual payments of Roman tribute to the Huns became a cornerstone of Hun-Roman relations during Rugila's reign. These payments served multiple purposes for both sides. For the Huns, it provided a steady influx of wealth and resources, strengthening their position and influence. For the Eastern Romans, it offered a temporary respite from Hun aggression and allowed them to focus on other pressing matters. The tribute system, however, was not without its complexities. Rugila, through his experienced diplomat Esla, demanded the return of all fugitives who had fled to Roman territory, threatening to terminate the peace if this condition was not met. This demand highlights the multifaceted nature of Hun-Roman relations, where financial arrangements were intertwined with political and social issues. Diplomatic strategy. The Eastern Roman Empire's decision to pay Roman tribute to the Huns was part of a broader diplomatic strategy. By appeasing the Huns with gold, the empire hoped to buy time to stabilize its internal situation and potentially strengthen its defenses. This approach was not unique to the Hun situation. It was a common tactic employed by the Byzantines in dealing with various neighboring powers. The strategy extended beyond mere payments. The Byzantines often used their wealth to manipulate the political landscape beyond their borders. They would bribe neighboring powers to fight against each other, effectively using their gold to create buffer zones and neutralize threats. This tactic was employed with great success against various groups, including the Goths, Avars, Slavs, and Pecheneg. The effectiveness of this diplomatic approach cannot be overstated. Given the empire's stretched resources and inability to adequately garrison its northern borders, bribing enemies to fight one another proved to be a cost-effective method of maintaining security. It allowed the Byzantines to keep their northern frontier safe at a relatively low price, especially when compared to the enormous costs of maintaining a large standing army or constructing extensive fortifications. However, this strategy also had its drawbacks. It created a cycle of dependency, where the Huns came to expect regular payments. Any disruption in these payments could lead to renewed hostilities, as evidenced by later conflicts under Attila's rule. Additionally, the constant outflow of gold put a strain on the empire's treasury, potentially weakening its economic foundation in the long term. In conclusion, Rugila's era saw the formalization of the Roman tribute system between the Huns and the Eastern Roman Empire. This period set the stage for the complex and often tumultuous relationship that would continue under his successors, Attila and Bleda. The diplomatic strategy employed by the Romans, while effective in the short term, would have far-reaching consequences for both empires in the years to come. Attila and Bleda's reign. The joint rule of Attila and Bleda, which began in 434, marked a significant shift in Hun-Roman relations. As nephews of the previous ruler Rugila, they inherited a vast empire stretching from the Alps and the Baltic in the west to somewhere near the Caspian Sea in the east. Their reign was characterized by increased pressure on the Eastern Roman Empire and a series of treaties that resulted in substantial Roman tribute payments. Increased tribute demands. Upon assuming power, Attila and Bleda immediately sought to renegotiate the terms of the existing agreement with the Eastern Roman Empire. In 435, they compelled Emperor Theodosius II to sign the Treaty of Margus, which significantly increased the annual Roman tribute. The Romans agreed to double the previous subsidy, raising it to 700 pounds, approximately 300 kilograms, of gold each year. This substantial increase in tribute reflected the growing power and influence of the Hunnic Empire under its new leadership. The Huns justified their demands by citing various grievances against the Romans. They accused the empire of sheltering Hunnic refugees and alleged that the Bishop of Margus had crossed into Hunnic territory and plundered their royal tombs. These accusations served as pretexts for the Huns to exert further pressure on the Romans and extract more favorable terms. The Treaty of 443. Despite the increased tribute, peace between the Huns and the Eastern Roman Empire proved short-lived. In 441, taking advantage of the Roman military's focus on the Vandal kingdom in North Africa, Attila and Bleda launched a massive invasion of the Balkans. This campaign forced the Roman army to abandon its expedition in Sicily and return to face the Hunnic threat. The Huns' military success led to the negotiation of a new treaty in 443. This agreement imposed even harsher terms on the Eastern Roman Empire. The annual Roman tribute was tripled to 2,100 pounds of gold, and the Romans were required to pay an additional lump sum of 6,000 pounds of gold as arrears for payments that had ceased during the conflict. This enormous increase in tribute payments placed a significant strain on the Eastern Roman treasury and highlighted the empire's weakened position in relation to the Huns. Military pressure. Attila and Bleda's reign was characterized by relentless military pressure on the Eastern Roman Empire. Their campaigns were marked by the destruction of numerous cities and the use of advanced siege equipment. In 443, the Huns employed battering rams and rolling siege towers to great effect, successfully assaulting key military centers such as Rashiara and Nisus, modern-day Niš. The Hunnic armies demonstrated their military prowess by defeating Roman forces in open battle and penetrating deep into Roman territory. They captured and razed important cities like Singidunum, Belgrade, Serdica, Sofia, and Philippopolis, Plovdiv. The Huns' ability to threaten Constantinople itself forced the Romans to rely increasingly on diplomacy and tribute payments to maintain peace. The military pressure exerted by Attila and Bleda had a profound impact on Roman strategy. The Eastern Roman Empire, faced with the Huns' fast and mobile armies, began to shift towards a more cavalry-oriented military structure. Mounted archers gradually replaced the heavy infantry that had been the backbone of Roman armies for centuries. This transformation in military tactics was a direct response to the Hunnic threat and would shape Byzantine strategy for generations to come. In conclusion, the reign of Attila and Bleda saw a dramatic increase in the Roman tribute demanded from the Eastern Roman Empire. Through a combination of military pressure and strategic negotiations, they successfully extracted enormous sums of gold from the Romans. These tribute payments, along with the constant threat of Hunnic invasions, placed a significant strain on the Eastern Roman Empire's resources and shaped its diplomatic and military strategies for years to come. Calculating the total tribute. Annual payment records. The Roman tribute paid by the Eastern Roman Empire to the Huns varied significantly over time. Initially, in 422, the Romans agreed to an annual payment of 350 Roman pounds, approximately 115 kilograms, of gold. This amount doubled to 700 pounds, about 300 kilograms, of gold per year in 435 under the Treaty of Margus. The most substantial increase came in 443 when the annual Roman tribute tripled to 2,100 Roman pounds, roughly 700 kilograms, of gold. In addition to these annual payments, the Huns often demanded lump sum payments. For instance, in 443, the Romans were required to pay 6,000 Roman pounds, about 2,000 kilograms, of gold as punishment for violating previous treaty terms. This massive one-time payment, combined with the increased annual tribute, placed a significant strain on the Eastern Roman treasury. Gold weight conversion. To understand the scale of these payments, it's crucial to convert the Roman weight measurements to modern equivalents. 1 Roman pound was approximately equivalent to 327 grams. Using this conversion, we can estimate the total Roman tribute paid to the Huns over different periods. For the decade between 422 and 432, the Romans likely paid around 3,500 Roman pounds of gold in tribute. From 435 to 440, another 3,500 pounds were paid. Adding the 6,000 pound lump sum payment in 443 and the increased annual tribute of 2,100 pounds for at least 4 years, the total Roman tribute to the Huns may have reached an astounding 21,400 Roman pounds of gold. Modern value estimation. To put this enormous sum into perspective, it's helpful to estimate its value in modern terms. While gold prices fluctuate, we can use a recent average price to calculate an approximate modern value. At a price of around $80,000 per kilogram of gold, the total Roman tribute paid to the Huns would be worth billions in today's currency. This staggering amount highlights the economic burden the Eastern Roman Empire bore to maintain peace with the Huns. However, it's important to note that the impact on the Byzantine economy was not as catastrophic as these figures might suggest. In 457, when Emperor Leo ascended to the throne, he found more than 100,000 pounds of gold in the treasury, indicating that the empire's finances remained relatively stable despite the heavy tribute payments. The Roman tribute system was complex, involving not only direct payments but also ransoms for prisoners and gifts to Hun leaders. For instance, the ransom for Roman soldiers captured by the Huns increased from 8 solidi to 12 solidi per person after 435. High-ranking individuals could command even larger ransoms, with one wealthy widow's ransom set at 500 solidi. In conclusion, while the exact total of Roman tribute paid to the Huns is difficult to determine with absolute certainty, the available records suggest it was an enormous sum, potentially exceeding 21,000 Roman pounds of gold over several decades. This amount, worth billions in today's currency, represents a significant financial commitment by the Eastern Roman Empire to maintain peace and stability along its northern frontier. Impact on Byzantine economy. Strain on treasury. The Roman tribute paid to the Huns placed a significant strain on the Byzantine treasury. The constant outflow of gold to appease the nomadic invaders led to a severe economic downturn. The empire was forced to raise taxes to meet these financial demands, which had far-reaching consequences for its citizens. The scale of the payments was staggering, with estimates suggesting that the total Roman tribute to the Huns may have reached 21,400 Roman pounds of gold over several decades. This enormous financial burden had a ripple effect throughout the empire's economy. The reduction in gold circulation led to a decrease in economic activity, as there was not enough coin available for regular transactions. The western part of the empire, in particular, struggled to meet these financial obligations, resorting to desperate measures such as increased taxation and minting new coins. These actions resulted in inflation, causing great distress in the western provinces. Economic consequences. The economic consequences of the Roman tribute system extended beyond the immediate financial strain. The raids and invasions accompanying the Huns' demands for tribute were devastating to the empire's infrastructure and productivity. Unlike other invading tribes, the Huns were known for their extreme level of destruction, which had long-lasting effects on the regions they targeted. The impact was particularly severe in certain areas. For instance, Attila's invasion of Italy had profound consequences for the region. Northern Italy, which had been recovering from earlier Gothic invasions, was devastated and took generations to recover. Urban centers were destroyed, and the area experienced significant depopulation as refugees sought shelter in remote locations. This weakening of Italy, a core area of the Western Empire, fatally undermined the Romans' ability to maintain control over their western territories. The economic crisis resulting from the Huns' campaigns and the Roman tribute system has been argued to be a major factor in the eventual fall of Rome. The drain on resources undermined the Roman state's ability to defend itself and secure its outlying provinces, contributing to the empire's decline. Administrative reforms. In response to these economic challenges, the Byzantine Empire implemented several administrative reforms to stabilize its finances and strengthen its economy. Emperor Anastasius introduced significant changes that helped both the Byzantine economy and the fiscal situation of the empire. One key reform was the substitution of paying taxes in kind with cash payments, which promoted currency circulation and monetized the economy. To prevent embezzlement by officials, Anastasius's advisor Marinus introduced a tax-collecting reform. The task of collecting taxes was taken from local curiales and given to state-appointed vindices, defenders of the city. This change aimed to improve the efficiency and fairness of the tax collection process. Despite the challenges posed by the Roman tribute system and other economic pressures, the Byzantine Empire maintained a powerful and centralized state. It retained an educated bureaucracy, a standing army, and the ability to collect taxes effectively. The state provided an integrating framework through its fiscal system and monetary mechanism, acting as the largest landowner and a major pole of demand in the economy. The most important tax was the land tax, which was estimated based on the value of land owned by each person. The state also collected taxes on domestic animals. Tax collection was supervised by a civil service in Constantinople, although land and population registration was done locally. These administrative reforms and the resilience of the Byzantine state structure allowed the empire to weather the economic storms caused by the Roman tribute system and other challenges. While the impact of the tribute payments was significant, the Byzantine economy demonstrated remarkable adaptability and endurance in the face of these pressures. Conclusion. The Roman tribute system between the Eastern Roman Empire and the Huns had a significant impact on both powers. The massive gold payments, which reached staggering amounts over the decades, put a strain on the Byzantine treasury but also bought crucial time for the empire to strengthen its defenses and stabilize internally. This financial arrangement highlights the complex power dynamics of the era, where diplomacy and economic leverage often played as big a role as military might. In the end, the tribute system proved to be a double-edged sword. While it temporarily kept the Hunnic threat at bay, it also fueled the Huns' power and ambitions, ultimately leading to more aggressive demands and invasions. The Byzantine Empire's ability to weather this economic storm through administrative reforms and resilient state structures showcases its adaptability. This period in history offers valuable insights into the interplay between diplomacy, economics, and military strategy in shaping the fate of empires.